Hi, this is Suzanne Wagner, and I am here with Jennie Stanchfield, and we are discussing the workshop that is the Shades of Intimacy, and she and I are both facilitators at this workshop. It will be February 16th, 17th, and 18th up in the Heber Valley area, and we just wanted to pick some different topics today to kind of hash out some of the ideas that will come up for people when they think about coming to the Shades of Intimacy, and why would you even do the Shades of Intimacy workshop? So, one of the questions I would like to ask is, for you as a woman, Jennie, what is the most irritating and disgusting thing that men actually do? I think, men, it's important for you to understand what this is, because you don't know how to fix something if you don't know what's really disgusting to a woman.
So I think it breaks down into, for me, a couple categories, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. So presence, awareness, and a lack of sense of humor. So there's an awareness piece of a man being really aware of his own body and how his body is telling a story to the woman who's standing in front of him. So, one thing we go over a lot at the workshop is just bodily. How do you embody a strong presence? How do you, as a man? And so for me, some things that I really I struggle with, I struggle, is, kind of the leering look, the leaning in, which I totally get. Women are phenomenally beautiful. And I do it to women. I'm like, oh my God. So women are beautiful. I totally get it. But there's very much a difference between I am totally going to get sucked into you, in which then the woman has to figure the man out, versus, if he can hold himself strong, have, a strong posture, look her in the eye, another thing, looking at the boobs, I get it. We're beautiful. But it's, looking the woman in the eye, having strong posture, having a good strong breath is really important to me. So, if I can't feel the man in front of me, if I think I could walk up to him and go, boom, and have him fall over, that's not sexy. That's a turnoff. That's repulsive. Mm-hmm. If I feel like if I could overpower that man, I don't want that. I don't feel like he can hold me, that he could be my man. So to me, that's disgusting. So there's a bodily awareness, and that translates into other places as well of, how is he eating his soup? But it does. It very much comes down to an awareness and how what he is doing with his body and his actions is impacting the people around him, particularly me as a woman who might be sitting in front of him. And if he's not aware enough of what he's doing, he's not going to be aware enough of what I'm doing either. So, if he's sitting there slurping the soup and it's falling all over his shirt and I'm sitting over there kind of curling in on myself, that he's in his own world. He's not noticing me. He's not noticing himself. And it also tells me a lot about what he feels about himself too. If he doesn't have this almost like a self-investment in himself, it tells me a lot about how he lives his life and how he takes care of himself, and that's really important as well. Presence is incredibly important. If I'm walking behind him and the door slams in my face, that might be a little bit of a turnoff. So him being aware of what's going on, where am I at, not necessarily having to get involved in anything, but just being present with what's going on. So if I'm having a moment where I'm crying or upset, he doesn't have to fix it. In fact, sometimes fixing it is also really the wrong thing to do and can be kind of a repulsive. But it's him being present enough to just be with me in that moment and not to turn away, but also not to try and come in and fix it, because usually you can't fix it. And then third is definitely the sense of humor. So when you do no awareness, no presence, you have to have a sense of humor about it. You have to be able to laugh. So that day when the door slams in my face, you got to be able to laugh about it. Both of you, the man and the woman, you have to be able to laugh about it. And so over all of it, just having a good sense of humor, an open heart, knowing that you care about each other, and being able to laugh at those moments where you totally stumble and it's just total chaos. Being able to laugh and just get right back on the horse and get back after it.
Well, for you, what happens when a man really fucks up and he's really pissed you off and he's completely shut you down? How do you come back from that? Now, I know you just said humor is a big piece in that, but there's moments that humor actually is not working because you're so triggered on the inside that you have to overcome in something in your own self. So how do you overcome that to come back into full alignment?
The way that it works for me, and everyone is so different, but really what works for me is, I have to express myself. So it's what wouldn't work for me is feeling like I can't say in that moment, you've really pissed me off. And so being able to express yourself, look your partner in the eye and say, you really pissed me off, that's critical. And then honestly, then I need to remove myself for a minute and recollect myself and kind of sort through maybe what's my own garbage and what's, what actually happened. But it's that moment of, look, this is where I'm at in this moment. And then I may have to take a moment, kind of realign, but then coming right back and looking at your partner. And to me, it is that piece of maintaining that eye contact, being honest about where you're at, being honest about your feelings. But there are definitely times where I have to take a moment, and that's perfectly fine. When that does happen, though, it's, there's a big difference for me between I'm really pissed at you and running away, because in that moment I just totally collapsed and I've left him there going, I don't know what's going on, but just saying, I'm really pissed off at you, I have to go away for a minute, I'll be back. And that helps us sort through those moments, particularly, like you said, you can't always use humor, but that's helpful for me.
So what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you in a sexual encounter that was so difficult to recover from? Because I think those happen, and I think people don't know what to do.
Yeah. There was a time when my partner and I, he had set up this amazing evening. He set up the bedroom with all of these candles and music, and the fireplace was on, and just beautifully planned out. And I had on this costume, and I come into the bedroom, and he grabs me and he throws me down on the floor, and his forehead hits the bridge of my nose. And it's just like all this blood just comes pouring out, and he's like, oh my God, and he's freaking out, I'm freaking out, I'm crying. I mean, if you get hit in the nose, that hurts so bad. So we just stop, turn on all the lights, blow out all the candles, walk downstairs and sit in the kitchen, and we both, I don't know what, we grabbed something out of the fridge and just started eating something. I don't know what it was. And we're just sitting there, kind of just eating, and, not saying much to each other. We're just like, in our minds, just going over what had happened and what a wreck it was. And finally I looked at him and I'm like, all right, let's try it again. So we put the food away, went upstairs, relit all the candles, and had an amazing evening.
Well, that's the one thing I really love about the feminine, that the feminine is really willing. I mean, sexuality and the feminine is a really beautiful thing. And, if you give the woman a chance, even if you've really screwed up, men, just so you know, there's a moment that she'll regroup because, a woman wants that sexuality and intimacy more than absolutely anything. But I think it is really a good thing to take a pause. What was going through your head at that time? I mean, were you thinking like, fuck you, you asshole? I mean, like, what were you thinking at the time?
At that time, number one, I was just hoping my nose wasn't broken. And number two, I felt his heart, because I knew he had set up this evening and he wanted it to be so amazing, and we both wanted it to be so amazing. So at that moment, I immediately tapped into his heart and was like, oh, he's just as upset about this as I am. And that really, that was an important moment, instead of me getting, which really could have collapsed the situation. But I felt his intention, and that, I think, helped us move through that more smoothly.
I think that's such an important piece to stop for a second and stop feeling what you're feeling. You're upset. And instead choose, it's a conscious choice to actually feel the other person and feel into the other person and what's going on for them, and to feel their intention, to feel their willingness, to feel what they were trying to accomplish. And then somehow your own stuff kind of goes a little bit down.
Yeah.
It's not so intense. So, well, thank you so much for that. I think it's really good for the ladies and the men to hear a story about that. So the Shades of Intimacy is February 16th, 17th, and 18th. Join us.